Welcome back to the Magic Hours. I'm Zoe Flowers. And so we are going to talk about this amazing shift that is happening next week. I'm super excited because I have this placement. So for those of you all that do not know, we are the nodes, the lunar nodes are switching next week. Okay, so right now the nodes are in Scorpio and Taurus. Next week, we are switching to the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra. Now, like I said, I have this placement. My North Node is in Aries. Those of us who have this placement, we also have Pluto has had its neck on us for several years because the transit of Pluto into Capricorn has not given us any breaks. So anybody else who has the same placement as I do, I feel your pain. So I'm going to share some things because not everybody knows what all of this stuff is about. So the first thing I want to do is actually talk a little bit about what the nodes are. All right, what these lunar nodes are. So, blah, 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 blah. All right, so the lunar nodes are, so they are not physical like planets, but they are mathematical calculations based on the intersection of the moon's orbit. Okay, so it's like what was happening while we were, well, in this case, while we were being born. Okay, so when I was born, again, we had this same placement. All right, so the South Node, which is also called K2 or the dragon's tail in Vedic astrology, it is directly opposite to the tail, the dragon's head or the North Node. Okay, and so typically the South Node, I think of the South Node as our rear view mirror. It is looked at as the gifts and the talents that we come into this world with. So if we believe in reincarnation, which I do. So the South Node, again, are gifts, talents, things like that, that we come into this life with, our immediate past or the past of our ancestors, okay? The South Node is how we learn to preserve our key characteristic traits that have been developed or overdeveloped, okay? Sometimes, you know, this can be thought of as our comfort zone, and, you know, sometimes we can lean into our comfort zone a little bit too much, right? These are traits that are easy for us to, or aspects of our personality that are easy for us to lean into, okay? Our South Node can be neglected because we are focusing too much on our North Node, or vice versa, I would say, like our dominant hand. So, I like this. So the dragon's head, it can be like air coming into the room. It can highlight what is righteous, but what I like here from my notes is the act of what we are cultivating. The act of what we are cultivating. So it is about restoration. I have here restoration versus preservation, right? So the South Node could be like what we want to preserve, okay? So the North Node is about renewal and restoring what has been damaged. Oh my God, I haven't looked at these notes in a while. I love that, especially with someone who has an Aries North Node, thinking about restoring what has been damaged. But I'll talk about that when I talk about Libra and Aries. Now the South Node, again, like I said, was about preservation. So what is being maintained, what is being safeguarded, what is good, but what is also overused. I love that. So a little bit about Aries. We'll do Aries first because Aries is first. So the North Node, for me, is like the GPS, where we're going. And the South Node, for me, again, is like the rearview mirror. One is not quote unquote good or bad. Again, it's just like, what are we overusing, right? We want to make sure we're not leaning into one aspect of our personality more than the other. So both Aries and Libra are cardinal signs. And cardinal signs, as I said in the video about the Venus retrograde, in the last video, cardinal energies initiate. They are natural leaders. They are natural initiators. They lead us into the season, right? So Aries initiates us into spring. Libra initiates us into fall. Cancer initiates us into summer. Capricorn initiates us into winter. Okay? So I have an Aries North Node where I'm going. I have a Libra Sun initiating us into fall. I have a Capricorn Ascendant, which is my rising sign, leading us into winter. I got a lot of cardinal energy in my chart. It can be a lot, right? It can be a lot. But what I'm learning as I learn how to work with the chart, and you can too, is like, what energies can be poured into? What energies do I really need to pay attention to? And what energies can I damp down a little bit? So let me read a little bit about Aries. So again, it's a cardinal sign, and it is ruled by the planet Mars, right? So you already know what it's giving. As a matter of fact, I'm doing this reading. The planetary hour right now is Jupiter. So we're in the hour of Jupiter right now. And by the time this is over, we will be in the planetary area of Mars. So it's my goal to get this uploaded by the time of Mars, right? So this is how you can like work with your planets, okay? It symbolizes the moment of identifying. Aries is our identity. It is our sense of self. It is the first house, right, on the astrological zodiac, okay? The words that are associated with it is the I am becoming, okay? What am I becoming? It is a fire sign, right? And so it's going to be passionate. It is about incarnation. It is about coming into the flesh. It is about beginnings. It is about separation, right? It's hot because of Mars and dry because of Mars. It can be assertive and aggressive. It is our personality. It is the warrior. It is a great sign for entrepreneurs, okay? So that's a little bit about Aries. Then we have Libra, which sits directly across from Aries on the zodiac wheel. And Libra is, which I love. People are like, Libra's about balance, but I love the way Sam Reynolds. So my notes are from my astrology class that I took with Sam Reynolds. So like, I don't know, 2 years ago, I think at this point. I love the way Sam talks about the signs because, yeah, he's like, Libra's not so much about balance. It's more about ratio and proportion. You know, we are about the aesthetics. Like Libra dominant people, maybe Venus dominant people, just because Venus, we are ruled by the planet Venus, right? So, which is also, again, going retrograde, like right after the nodes change. So it is about proportion and it is about social order. Like if you know Libra people, and again, this is when we talk about like things that might need to be dampened in the personality, right? Libras can be very much about like, how can I maintain the social order? How can I maintain that things are just so? And sometimes that can mean us putting ourselves on the back burner for other people to keep the peace. right? So that can be useful in certain situations, but we can overdo it, especially somebody like me who has a Libra sun and my Libra is in the South Node. So it's so easy for me to just be like, to like really lean into that, making people happy, leaning into that, people pleasing. Thankfully, when I found out that I had an Aries North Node, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago at this point, maybe a little longer, I started to really work with that Aries energy. And I have a great teacher because my mother's an Aries, honey. And she's been an Aries her whole life. So I have adopted, for better or for worse, some of like her characteristics, okay? Because whereas for me, if I go to a restaurant, like I was at a restaurant a couple months ago, they were taking so long to feed us. And I just was like super patient, blah, blah, blah. But then it started to like bubble up because other people were getting fed, before us and we got there first. So then, that justice in me kicks up. So I asked the waiter, like, I'm curious about like what's really happening. Like, why are ba 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 ba? Right? Before, I probably wouldn't have did that. I probably would have just sat there and accepted poor service, right? So it is something that I had to lean into, okay? So, but we can get spicy, because we are hot. We are hot and wet Libras, right? That sounded. And we're leaders, we're cardinal, right? And so when I think about Aries and Libra, especially during the pandemic, because I spent the pandemic here at my mother's house, so I had a lot of time to reflect. Libra and Aries are not that different. We both can be extremely strong-willed. We definitely want to get what we want. We want things to go our way a lot of the times, but Libras will bend a little bit more, but we also can go about getting what we want in different ways. I like to say that Aries is about the me, Libra is about the we. Libra symbolizes the moment of reaching for social proportion. Sometimes we have to blow shit up too, right? To get to that proportion. That's why it's like that balance thing. Yes, but again, it's more about ratio, it's more about proportion. And if we have to like tear things down to get that proportion, we will do it. That's why you might know a lot of Libras that take a lot of stuff, then they just blow up. Because it's like we have abided by the social order. You're not abiding by the social order. You're being rude and disrespectful. You're creating injustice. You're acting out of integrity, right? You feel the judgment, right? Like we can go there. We can get there, right? And so, yeah. So that's something else we have to work on. Again, I talked about aesthetics. We're all about the aesthetics 100%. We're about justice. It's always the self versus others with Libra. It's always, where do you start? Where do I end? Where do I end? Where do you begin? Where do I begin and you end? And so crafting, and that's why I feel like this is going to be such a powerful shift for people who have, if you don't have this exact placement, even just looking where you have Aries and Libra in your charts, to see how you can really work with this energy. It's about partnerships, diplomacy, balancing, not balance, balancing, measuring as in pounds, right? Like, how's this stuff looking? Decision making. Me at a restaurant, my God. I don't know if other Libras are like this, but I'm always the last person to order at the restaurant. And when I find something I like, I pretty much will stick to it at the restaurant. Because if not, I'm going to be just constantly like, oh my God, do I want this? Do I want that? So, but once I know what I like, that's it. So we are constantly doing this. But once we've made up our mind, That's it. It may take us a while to decide how we feel about you, but once we've made that decision about how we feel about you, you might get cut off and we might never speak to you again. Right? That's what it is. So those are the energies that we're working with, right? That individual, but it's not really individualistic. It is, but it isn't, because Aries can also be like the warrior for other people. You can look at actually my other video that I did with Caitlin about Aries, and like when they're in their highest evolutionary point and what they actually represent. They're actually like warriors for people who need their help, right? So these are the energies that we are going to be juggling. So wanted to start with that. So just like I did with the other reading, I wanted to find out what house position will be activated during this season, okay? So not, so this is a collective reading, okay? So this is going to be for anybody who sees this video. The house that's going to be lit up from from July 17th to January 25th, because that's going to be how long we're going to have this placement, is going to be the second house, which I find so interesting because the second house is about what we value. We talked about that in the Venus retrograde. Fascinating. What we value, the things of the senses, your physical environment. It rules income, money, and self-esteem. I love this for us. This Venus retrograde plus this nodal shift, I love it. I love it. Now, I also asked, which I don't think I did last night, what sign is going to be activated, or what characteristics of what sign? Now, why isn't this showing? Is it because it's white? I should have went with the dark ones. Where are the dark ones? So what got lit up is Capricorn. And we know Capricorn is all about there we go. There we go. All about our goal setting. Capricorn is about building things that last. It's an earth sign, excuse me. It is represented by the Pentacles in the Tarot. So I really appreciate money, what we value, etc., coupled with Capricorn, which is about sort of that sea goat, because that's what Capricorn is corresponded to, is the sea goat. It is a goat that can live on earth or in the water. It can navigate the water and the earth. So it's adaptable. This might be a very expansive money-making time. I also wanted to tap into, I asked what planet, I'm going to use this one so we can see it. What planet is going to be activated also? And guess what I got? I didn't get a planet. I got the North Node. I got the North Node. I'm missing some. Oh, I know where they are. This is a time of, if we use this energy correctly, right? Like you see how I'm intentionally working with the energy of the planets, even recording this video. I'm not sure if I did any videos about the planetary hours and what they mean. I can, but yeah, so right now we're still in a Jupiter hour. So it's all about expansion. Jupiter's all about expansion. But again, I'm going to post it during the Aries hour, which comes right after the Jupiter hour. Okay. So that's where we are. Expansion, goal setting. This is a great time to get your astrological readings, get your tarot readings specifically around these issues. Again, Libra is about the we, Aries is about the me. So you could get readings around, obviously, like what this energy has in store for you, but you could also get readings around how you can benefit from these energies. Okay. Was there anything else that I want to say before we got into the cards? No. Okay. So now we're going to get into the cards because the Astro dice then already laid it out for us. This to me is like a money-making time, like between next week and 2025, it's big changes, big changes. So let's capitalize. Let's use everything we can to capitalize on this energy. So the last time that we had this placement was just between December 24th, 2004 to June 22nd, 2006. When during this time, I actually moved from Atlanta to California. You know what? I think I bought my house in 2003. I bought my house in 2003 and I moved to California in 2006. So this is June 22nd. So I moved to California around it. You know what? It was during this transit because I think I moved to California in the spring of 2006. And I'll tell you, when I was looking to move, I was in a very rough time in my life. I had a new house. Well, I had been in my house a couple of years. It was a very challenging time for me, like really bad. And I was having a hell of a time trying to sell that house, but I wound up getting out just in time. Like Spirit took care of me so much because I got out right before the housing crash in Atlanta. As a matter of fact, my house sat on the market for a year. And many houses in my neighborhood were up for sale. And the way my house sold because I had to do, I did some spiritual work. I did a whole bunch of stuff. I didn't know anything about the nodes or anything. I definitely was into spirituality and meditation and the chakras and things like that. But I did not know about nodes or anything like that. I probably wasn't even focusing that much on my astrological chart at that time. I've been doing astrology since I was like 14, but like surface level, you know what I mean? So, but I got out of that house just in time. I got offered a position in California. The executive director literally said to me, and at that time, I think I don't even know, like it was such a rough time. I was working at Habitat for Humanity. And by the time I had gotten hired at Habitat for Humanity, I had like $12 in my account, like literally Spirit, like in the nick of time. But it was a horrible job. I was a receptionist after like being in the domestic violence movement, making decent money, traveling, doing speaking. Like I had just started doing like trainings and things like that to like really, being kicked out of my position at the coalition under some foul circumstances. I almost lost my house. Like it was a bad time for me. Okay. Bills piling up, like just bad shit. But during this transit, there was and basically I followed, and I guess I'm sharing this with you all in case you're going through hard times right now. I basically followed my intuition, and I really at that time got into the law of attraction because I was in such desperate situation, financially, emotionally, spiritually, that I really I had to work some serious, and I had to do some serious energy work to get out of the hole that I was in. My father had passed away, and it was like it was bad. But Spirit had told me, once you sell this house, you will never have financial problems again. Once you go through this phase, you will never have financial problems again. And I never have. So you can work with this energy, no matter where you find yourself, you can work with this energy to catapult yourself to the next level of your life. So basically I followed, like, again, law of attraction. I followed my instincts. I saw. But one of the things that the law of attraction was talking about at that time was like following your instincts. And I was reading the Celestine prophecy at that time, or like all the Celestine prophecy, like books I had read at that time. And it talked about following your intuition, following your instincts. And I was at my old job and I was looking at this newsletter. It was like a domestic violence newsletter. And this lady's name, she was in California, and her whole face seemed to shine and like jump off the page to me. So I was like, I'm going to just reach out to this lady. I reached out to her. She was like, I asked her if she was hiring. She was like, no, but maybe you should call the California Partnership to End Domestic Violence. And I was like, oh my gosh, I know somebody who works there, but I didn't know that then. So I called the partnership. Somebody I knew answered the phone. I was like, hi, I'm Zoe Flowers. I'm, worked in the domestic violence movement. I'm looking for a job. Do you have any openings? They were like, we have 5 positions available. Which one do you want to apply for? This was at my crappy job that I hated so much. I applied. They flew me out for the interview, or maybe I flew myself out for the interview. I think I flew myself out for the interview, but they put me up in a hotel and all of that. I met the executive director. Then I didn't hear anything for like months. And then I started doing what's called scripting from Abraham Hicks. I was reading Ask and It Is Given. When I tell you, I was using everything in the kitchen sink. So I used scripting. Literally, I think I was coming back from lunch. I had pulled over to the side of the road and I started scripting exactly how I wanted the situation to go. I promise you, a couple of days later, that executive director called me and offered me a position. And I accepted the job. My house was still on the market. It had been up on the market for a full year. I was like, I'm accepting this job. I'm going to just have faith. If the house sells, it sells. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm moving to California one way or the other. My house sold. I got the offer on my house on a Thursday. They faxed the offer letter to my job on Thursday. I flew out to California to start my new job the next day on Friday. And everything I had shipped. I had everything shipped to my apartment. Now that was a whole debacle. We don't need to talk about all that. But I had my car, I had everything shipped to California. And that started a whole new trajectory for my entire life. That was in 2006. And my life has never been the same since. Not that I haven't still had ups and downs, I have, but I've never had financial problems like I had before this transit. Okay. So that is the power so that's why I'm excited about this transit, because of what happened to me before. And again, I didn't even know about those, the nodes or anything like that. I just was going off spirit and off the energy. Okay. So hopefully that will give you some hope, some enlightenment, and some ideas about, I mentioned Ask and It Is Given by Abraham Hicks. Gosh, they have several books that I've read. The Celestine Prophecies, which is all about the fact that there's no coincidences and it's about trusting your intuition, like that whole Celestine Prophecies series. Those are like some good books that you can read. Spiritual Economics by Eric Butterworth. Great books that you can read. Okay. Some of the language is old school, religious. It's definitely patriarchal language. Okay. So if you can't deal with that, don't get Spiritual Economics. Okay. Because everything is him, he, da, 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 da. If you can't deal with that, don't get that book. Okay. Also, the whole Florence Scovel Shin series, The Game of Life, How to Play It, Your Word is Your Wand. Again, heavily religious, heavily patriarchal in its language. These books were written in like the 1900s or so. So again, if that's going to like throw you off and mess up your manifestations, don't read those books, but they work for me. Okay. So that's that on that. Let's get into the card readings because I have rambled and rambled, but let's get into the card readings. Okay. All right. So let's get into what the cards, no, self-care first. Okay. So how should we be taking care of ourselves during this transit? Well, definitely our savings account. Like we definitely need to make sure that we're checking on our savings and we're not overspending or underspending. Now you see, I was just talking about following your intuition and look what we got. Look at that, what we got. 2 + 8 is 10. We would reduce that to 1 in numerology. New beginnings. What did I say? I wasn't rambling. I was giving y'all true tea and knowledge. So we want to be working with our intuition, following even the intuition that led you to this channel, that led you to this video. And I'm going to just proclaim that whoever sees this video, you're going to prosper in this time. You're going to prosper in this time. All right. What is the archetype that we need to embody during this transit from July to January of 2025? Huh. Interesting. We got the scribe, preserving knowledge and information. That's interesting because that corresponds to the Venus retrograde video that I posted yesterday. So if you haven't seen that video, definitely go back and watch that because there's a lot of good guidance in that too. So this is a great time to tell your story. Okay. This is a good time, I'm hearing, to create, this message might be for me, to create your own oracle deck or tarot deck if you're a reader. I think, did I talk about downloading? This is a good time to write the downloads that you get from spirit, because see how we have the third eye here and we have a couple of different bodies here, which we do have a couple, our aura, we have a couple of different bodies. We have, several layers to our aura. And so that's what I'm taking this as really tapping into your higher self, tapping into your cosmic energy, getting downloads and sharing them with the world. So I'm hearing like vlogging, if people are still blogging, like sharing your stories, just like how I just gave you that information to edify you. It is encouraged that you all do the same for others. One more. What is the archetype for us to embody during this nodal shift? We have liberator and we have gossip. So how I'm taking this is to liberate ourselves, like doing things that are going to liberate our energy and free our energy and let go of things that are going to hold us back, like gossip. So really cutting back on the gossip. Oh, during this shift, like really watching your mouth is what I'm hearing. Watching your mouth. Okay. Watching your mouth, watching what you allow to come into your ear space. And it's interesting to me how similar these colors are for me, these different shades of blue and purple here, especially these two. So really using your intuition when you're dealing with other people And it's like, are they trying to, I have to use this card. Are they trying to elevate me with this conversation? Are they sharing that? Are they trying to encourage my visionary aspects, or do they just want to gossip? Do they just want to dump negativity on me? This is a good time to figure that out and cut out that energy. Okay. Another card. What was the guidance for this time? I'm hearing what to fall away. What may be falling away? We love that. We love to see the 10 of swords, the 10 of wands falling away. Okay. The heavy load, carrying heavy loads. This is very, very resonant to this energy because the 10 of wands has to do with burdens that we have caused ourselves by taking on other people's stuff. And then we get so weighed down. And this is very true for Libras. Very, very true for us. And wands are all about actions. So we need to take some different actions here. Yes, come through fire energy. Come through 6 of wands. So we need to let these burdens go. Okay. Really centering ourselves and moving into our 6 of wands energy. Remember, I asked about what actions could we take, and wands are all about action. So stepping in, this is a card of victory, and you see a nobody on the stage but her, or but them. And nobody on the stage but them. They've got the wreath, which signifies victory. They've got the fire, the torch, which represents the wands energy. And they are the star. Wow. If this is not perfect Aries energy, I am being gagged right now. So letting go of that Libra energy and stepping into that Aries energy, the individual, the me. Wow. Thank you, Spirit. I remember I asked, what is falling away? So you might still be in the planning stages, right? So what's falling away is like this sense of longing, this sense of planning, this sense of feeling like you don't have all the information. The moon is about secrets and blockages. And that's what I'm saying, blockages. You see, she's underwater, right? She's drowning underwater, right? This is falling away, this lack of direction, but this also feels like a lack of movement to me because she's just looking out the window. She's not in the world, right? The 3 of wands is when they start to take action to be in the world, but she's still like dreaming, daydreaming. This very much resonates to me. It's like, I want to go on that trip with this van here. I want to see the world, but for right now, I'm just not ready. And so perhaps there was, again, information that you felt like you needed to have, information that might have even been being kept from you. And so I would say doing spiritual exercises around clarity, meditating on clarity, maybe even doing some cord cutting rituals, okay? So that you can see clearly, so that your vision is not obfuscated, right? It's not clogged, that you can see clearly. That's what's falling away. And what's coming in, we love to see the 3 of cups, new celebration. You might change friend groups during this time. This page of pentacles. So pages are our messengers, right? Just as I was talking about new friends, you might get some messages on some new ways to bring in some pentacles. Pentacles are resources, material things that we can hold in our hands, right? Going back to that 2nd house energy, which is about what we value. Pages are also a naive energy, a learning energy. So again, you might just be learning. You might just be learning about your value. Celebration and learning about your value, learning about what you need, learning about what energy you need. What else do you have to say, Spirit? Wow, this came up again. Learning about what you need, and that's going to clear up this energy here of the moon. You might even be learning about people who are trying to block your blessings, especially with that gossip. Okay. Wondering about goddess energy. What goddess energy can we expect? No, that's not right. What goddess energy do we need to tap into during this time? What goddess energy do we need to tap into? What goddess energy do we need to tap into? Okay. No more hiding. It's time to get brazen. Okay. We have Satira here. Yep, I knew she was going to be associated with fire. So she is associated with the element of fire. She is from the warrior temple because each goddess in this deck is associated with a certain thing, and she is a warrior. And remember, we talked about that Aries energy. We talked about Aries being an initiator, being a leader. So this talks about you. And again, ain't nobody on this thing with her. She the only one. So stepping into your quote unquote main character energy. I know that people are talking about that main character energy, but this is really what's being encouraged during this time. It says Goddess Satira is the energy and the spirit of Buxton in Guyana, South America. Satira is brave, bold, brazen, and barefaced, casting spells with her hips. Her guidance, step up, go for it. Partner with the divine to make brazen choices, and everything meant to diminish you will elevate you. Don't worry about the gossip. Don't worry about what people are saying. Spirit's going to clear that away for you. All who mean you harm fall away. It could be nice to do some return to sender spells. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. All who mean you harm fall away. Your hurdles are illusions. Hello, moon. Because this is my illusions and delusions card. Because you are plugged into source. So unplug yourself from the gossip, unplug yourself from the BS. Like Kiki Palmer says, I'm Stevie Wonder to the BS. That's it. That to me is like the vibe for this, the affirmation for this time. I'm Stevie Wonder to the bullshit. Okay. Embodiment. Make the brazen choices. What would you dare to do if you knew you couldn't fall? If you knew you couldn't fail? It is brazen to be unapologetically you. It is brazen to speak up for someone not in the room. That's that Aries energy. It is brazen to choose a different spiritual path or career than your community. It is brazen to build your family your way. God, goddess, force, energy is brazen. The declaration, I am bold, brave, shameless, and brazen. This is what I'm talking about. Be you, unapologetically you. Period. Looking for an ally. Looking for an ally. Looking for an ally for this time period. My God, today. We got the number 55 here. You know what that is. 5 plus 5 is 10. 10 is what? New beginnings. New beginnings. We're tip the scales in your favor. How do you do that? Maybe getting a little tiger's eye. This is a great crystal for creativity. Remember, we talked about that scribe and that liberation. Write that book, start that podcast, do all the things. Now is the time. Anything else? Oh, yes. Okay. Shadow work. You want to do timing first. Okay. What time period? What time period? Shadow work, then the time. Got it. So during this period, you know, I always like to ascribe shadow work. I've committed to doing shadow work for a full year. Here we are, 7 months in. Okay. Wow. Solace in the secluded garden. Again, we have so many figures of being on your own. Okay? So many figures standing. We do have the Three of Cups too, but this is a solitary energy. We need other people, obviously, to help put our ideas, thoughts, dreams into the world, but we should not be sacrificing ourselves for other people. All right. What's in it for me is also the affirmation. Okay. It's okay. And this is like super hard for me, but it's okay to be selfless, selfish. Look, I couldn't even say it. Selfish during this time. It is what it is. It's okay to stand alone. Okay. It's okay to go into your secluded space and be alone. Now, spirit, I want to know about time. Like, how long should we focus on shadow work, this particular shadow work? Okay, interesting. How long should we, I should take the other words out. I should take the words out. Because that just, perfect. How long should we focus on this shadow work? How long should we focus on this shadow work? How long should we focus on this shadow work? Okay. So a month. So we need to focus on this. We need to do this shadow work for a month, which so that will be a month into whenever you see this video. Is that right? Let me check. Let me check. Oh, I love when I have so many resources. A month from this video? Is it a month from this video? No. Okay. So is it a month from June 22nd? Yes. We got the Sword of Truth. Wow. Fascinating. And then we got another yes. So remember we talked about that going from that Two of Wands, which was like planning, to the Three of Wands, which is like expansion, right? Look at astrology, Sun in Aries. This is not a game. This is so serious. So a month from July 17th to August 17th, that's our shadow work time. And then after we do our shadow work, we can step, once we have new ideas, once we have clarity from the sword of truth, which is air. Y'all, this is not a game. Air rules Libra, fire rules Aries. Okay? Fire rules the wands, air rules the swords. Just in case you had any doubts. All right, about what's happening here. So you take your time, you do your shadow work, whatever it is, whatever you need to do, going off by yourself, okay, journaling, meditating, doing all those things. Then once you have the clarity, right, you know what actions to take, then you go out and you conquer the world, period. That's on period. That's it. It's our time. This was great. Drop down in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Yeah. And if you have questions, and I'll see you next time. Bye.